this is Pamela from Manila, Philippines. I was the previous winner of Youth Collab Summit in Bangkok and the Youth Collab Summit in China. I've been a fashion entrepreneur for the last 11 years, and what bothers me most as a member of the fashion industry is textile waste. The fashion industry is the second largest polluter in the world, and we can find this problem in our own homes. We don't know what to do with our old clothes. So one day as I was cleaning my closet, I thought, why don't I turn my old clothes into shoes? So this is where PHINIX comes in. We collect textile waste such as old clothes from households, fabric scraps from garment factories, and transform them into higher valued products such as footwear and bags. For someone who has been joining a lot of international business competitions, having an elevator pitch is part of my core. Every competition requires you to pitch. But for me, it's a must for every entrepreneur to memorize by heart their elevator pitch for their businesses. Why? Because having an elevator pitch is your first impression to anyone that you actually talk to. Whether it's your audience, your future investors, or your potential customers. Basically, it's the story you tell to your people in a few set of words or a few sentences that would actually make people ask you more questions on what your business really is. In my experience, attending Youth Collab Summit or any conferences or business competitions, this stage is not your only platform to actually share your elevator pitch. It's actually in random moments wherein some person will actually approach you and say, hey, what's your business about? Or, you know, having lunch and sitting down with new people, and they'll be like, hey Pamela, what do you actually do? So I already have my own set of what I call my one-liner, which is what PHINIX actually is, like in 10 words or less. Or like if they actually have time, I do have this script already in my head, which is my elevator pitch. Now, this has actually really opened a lot of doors, because not only did my pitch on stage, on the platform itself in the competition, opened me to so many more opportunities, but really I've come to meet more people who actually help the business by just, you know, talking with them randomly and just randomly telling them it's not even me being conscious that I was actually doing an elevator pitch. It was just really me telling the story of my business. I don't need to brag, but people do call me the queen of pitching. And the number one thing that I always tell people, and my number one tip is always, pitching is actually a performance. Meaning, it's something that you actually think through. There's a structure in it. There's a storyline in it, wherein you actually captivate your audience, your investors, your judges, your customers. And you practice, you practice, you practice, you practice. Until, you know, you can actually deliver a flawless performance. So that's one thing that I always say when it comes to pitching. I have experienced pitching 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and 7 minutes. And I remember my very first international competition that I actually won only required me 2 minutes to pitch on stage. And that was the first time I won, and that was actually the very first time I learned the art of elevator pitching. Now, of course, there is always a structure. I always believe that, you know, when you pitch, you should be you appear as if you're just telling a story, but secretly you're actually following a structure in your head. And to give you tips of what I actually use, I just actually use the guide that Guy Kawasaki. You can find this online. You just type Guy Kawasaki, the only 10 slides you need in your pitch. So if I just go through it fast, it says you start with your title, and then you present your problem, and then your value proposition or your solution, your underlying magic, or what is it that makes you different. And then your business model, you have to show, you know, whether you are a social enterprise or just any other business model, the important thing is to show how you guys actually earn. And then your marketing, your go-to market plan, and then your competitive analysis, and then that's when you present your team, why you're credible. And then some of the slides that I just use as options are financial projections and key metrics. And then lastly are your accomplishments, your timeline, and your use of funds, or how will you use your funds. And if I could add one more thing that I always do in all my pitch, is that I always add an emotional tug or slide in the end. Whether it's a photo of my community that I work with, or my signature is always about a quote about PHINIX, which I always end my pitch with, as the legend shows, when the phoenix burns into flame, it becomes even more beautiful than before. And that's what PHINIX celebrates: revival, renewal, and rebirth. So if you believe in us, don't let it go to waste. So see, that's how I actually end my pitch. What I always tell about my colleagues and my fellow contestants is that when you pitch, you can follow this structure that Guy Kawasaki actually enumerated for us, but you have to make it appear as if you're just telling a story. The important thing here is that the audience actually focuses on you, because once you lose them just by telling your problem, or they can actually understand what your solution or what you're really offering, then you lose your audience and your judge altogether. So my number one tip is follow the structure that Guy Kawasaki said, but make it into a very interesting story, and then end it strong with something of, you know, that tugs the heart. The obvious one is, number one, you have to take note of your visuals. The judges will always compliment my slides because it speaks of my brand, which is a fashion social enterprise. So it just shows that our slides actually show that we are a fashion social enterprise brand. But at the same time, whether you are in agriculture, health, education, or tech, which I always share to people as well, is you have to make your visuals very interesting. You know, make people actually look at your slide and look at you at the same time. Another thing is, what you have to practice. People don't really think that this is a very important tip, but if you actually see me before I go on stage, I practice so many times before I sleep, when I wake up, going up on stage. I replay and replay. The thing here is that once you are on stage already, you memorized it so much that you actually know what the next slide is. And that's something that's one of my techniques, that I've memorized my lines and the slides so much, I know when to click. And sometimes, you know, when I pitch, I don't even look at the slides anymore, because I know where I'm exactly at. But the thing is, when you memorize it, because like what I said, it's a performance, you still have to look and sound natural. You know, you should not sound monotonous or like a robot. That's one thing. And the thing is, I think for me, my number one tip is that when you practice and when you perform, I always call it perform because it's really a performance. You have to compel people to listen to you with or without a slide. Whether the slide is working or not, you can actually continue with your story, with your pitch, and the audience will actually get it without your visuals. So that's how you should plan in creating your slides. I hope you guys learned a little from something that I have shared, because these tips have actually helped me in winning Youth Collab Summit in Bangkok and Youth Collab Summit in China. And please do support PHINIX. Again, you know, our upcoming collections are actually from vintage and old authentic kimonos like this one that we have turned into sneakers for the boys. We also made like heels and flats for ladies, which are all made from kimonos, and of course our bags. Please do follow us on our social media platforms. It's made by PHINIX. I don't know if, there you go. So that's made by PHINIX. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, just type made by PHINIX. And if you want to visit us and buy from us, just visit us at madebyphoenix.com. Thank you guys.